On January 20, 2025, President Donald Trump signed Executive Order 14,160, titled Protecting the Meaning and Value of American Citizenship, seeking to end birthright citizenship for children born in the United States to non-citizen parents without legal permanent residency. The order immediately faced legal challenges, with federal courts issuing injunctions, citing potential violations of the 14th Amendment. This marked one of the most direct attempts by a U.S. president to reinterpret a constitutional provision without congressional approval or a Supreme Court ruling. While Trump's executive action is unprecedented in its direct challenge to a settled constitutional interpretation, it follows a historical pattern of presidents testing the limits of their authority. In the 1830s, President Andrew Jackson's administration ignored the Supreme Court's ruling in Worcester v. Georgia 1832, which declared that the state of Georgia had no authority over Cherokee lands. Though Jackson never explicitly stated, John Marshall has made his decision. Now let him enforce it. His failure to enforce the ruling allowed Georgia to continue its policies, culminating in the forced relocation of Native Americans later known as the Trail of Tears under his successor, Martin Van Buren. During the Civil War, President Abraham Lincoln suspended the writ of habeas corpus in 1861 to detain suspected Confederate sympathizers without trial. Chief Justice Roger Taney ruled in Ex parte Merriman that Lincoln had exceeded his authority, but Lincoln ignored the decision and continued the policy. Congress later passed the Habeas Corpus Suspension Act in 1863, effectively validating Lincoln's actions post hoc. In the 1930s, President Franklin D. Roosevelt, frustrated by the Supreme Court striking down key New Deal policies, proposed a controversial court-packing plan to add more justices favorable to his agenda. Though Congress rejected it, the court soon shifted its stance, upholding major New Deal programs in what some historians call the switch in time that saved 9. During the Korean War, President Harry Truman attempted to seize control of steel mills to prevent a labor strike, arguing national security concerns. However, in Youngstown Sheet and Tube Co. v. Sawyer 1952, the Supreme Court ruled against him, affirming that the president could not unilaterally seize private property without congressional approval. After 9/11s, President George W. Bush expanded executive power with policies allowing indefinite detention of terrorism suspects at Guantanamo Bay. In Boumediene v. Bush 2008, the Supreme Court ruled that detainees had the constitutional right to challenge their imprisonment in U.S. courts, reinforcing habeas corpus protections even in matters of national security. Throughout American history, presidents have tested the limits of executive power, sometimes reshaping constitutional interpretation, sometimes facing judicial or congressional pushback.